Hi, Carter. I'm going to read chapter 17 from the Green Ember, but this chapter is really long, so I have to split it up into two parts. So this is 17a, Food and Friendship. Heather was surprised at how each face had changed at the call of the mended wood. She knew neither what it meant nor why it should be any comfort to them after the death of their friend. Decker was a Kingsbuck loyal, always, Uncle Wilfred said, and Lord Rake nodded. He'll be missed. That's right. There was never a doubt about his loyalty, Pacer said. Lord Rake frowned at him. Heather saw that Smalls wanted to speak, but after almost beginning a few times, he settled into silence. He's been our lookout for many years, Lord Rake said. Now we're more vulnerable than ever. Instead of a lookout, we'll have a garrison of wolves down here. Then two more rabbits emerged from the cave. One was short and nearly as wide as he was high. He walked out, swaying back and forth, almost as if he might fall over and start rolling down the mountain each time he took a step. The other was a lovely auburn red rabbit with white spots, dressed in a plain white frock, carrying a black bag. Ah, Lord Rake said. Emma, will you see to this young rabbit, please? He motioned to Pickett, and she bowed, then walked over quickly. Lord Rake and Uncle Wilfred then joined in conversation with the wide rabbit called Gort. Hello, said Emma. Hello, Heather replied, crossing to greet her. She stood by Pickett, who still sat on the ground and looked more uncomfortable than ever. You're Emma, are you? Well, it's not fair that we know your name and you don't know ours. Emma laughed. No, not fair at all, but I'll endeavor to overcome this devastating calamity. She looked to be about the same age as Heather. Heather pointed to herself dramatically. I'm Heather, and this sour grape here is Pickett, jabbing her elbow in his direction. Well, Emma said, laughing, I'll see what I can do for his bad foot, though there's nothing in my bag that cures pouting. The girls laughed again. Heather urging Pickett to laugh along. She'd only meant to try to lighten his mood. He attempted a smile, but then his head drooped again. She'd often used this method to cheer him up, but he appeared to be beyond help at present. All right, Captain Grouchy Pants, Emma said. Let's have a look at that foot of yours. I'm fine, Pickett said stubbornly. Emma raised her eyebrows. Is it? She flicked his foot with her finger, and Pickett cried out, Oh, I see. Yes, it seems perfectly fine. No problems. I'm glad young bucks are always honest. She exchanged a look of disapproval with Heather, then set to work on the wrap that Uncle Wilfred had hastily made in the forest. That's a fine wrap. Did you do that? She asked Heather. Sorry, I'm gravelly this morning. No, Heather said. She'd wish she'd known how. It was Uncle Wilfred. He's no stranger to doctoring, said Emma. Heather watched, and Pickett winced as Emma easily undid the field wrap and made a careful examination of Pickett's foot, feeling for the bones and wincing along with Pickett. She opened a wide, short pot and dipped some goo out and slathered it on his foot. For the pain, she said. Then she redid the wrap, carefully but quickly. We'll help you inside, she said, motioning for Heather to take one of his arms around her neck while she took the other. Now listen, Grouchy, I'm commanding you to never put weight on that foot until I or one of the doctors say it's okay. We'll have some crutches made in no time. Pickett agreed. Will Lord Rake make them? Heather asked as they hobbled along, supporting Pickett toward where Lord Rake, Uncle Wilfred, Gort, and some others clustered around the cave mouth. No, said Emma. Lord Rake is no craftsman. There will be craftsmen lined up to make them. Really? Heather asked. But they had reached the others. All right now, Master Pickett, Lord Rake said. Fine, sir. Thank you, Pickett answered softly. Well done, Emma, Lord Rake said. She curtsied as best she could without knocking Pickett over. Emma's an apprentice now, but Dr. Ziegler says she'll make a fine doctor soon. I'm so very proud of her. Emma made as if to smooth her ears dramatically and look proud, but then she laughed. Lord Rake joined in and theatrically frowned at her, shaking his head. Heather smiled. She really liked Emma. Then she got a whiff of something wonderful. and her stomach growled loudly. Lord Rake laughed and said, "You must be starving. Gord said we're ready to eat, so come on in. You'll be served first." They passed through the cave mouth and were sprinkled with bursting pellets of falling water. Thick mist mingled with the fetching smell of soup on the fire. The swirling clouds of appetizing smells filled the recesses of the cave. "I could eat a house," Pickett grumbled. "Well, you're in luck," Gort shouted. "I have prepared a culinary castle for your bellies." It was dark inside the cave, and the mist was gone. There were lit torches along the wall once they had gotten far enough inside. They were following a long passage, and the smell was incredible. Heather hadn't realized how hungry and weak she was. She sagged. Half carrying Pickett was using the last of her energy, but she pressed on. How many times in the last 2 days had she believed she was at the end of her strength, only to somehow find some more? The cave's long passage opened into a larger room, wide and deep, where many rabbits were seated at tables and eating. Many of them wore the same green that Pacer wore. Others varied. Some were dressed elegantly, like Lord Rake, but most were dressed quite simply. Heather saw one tall, strong rabbit in the corner eating alone. He, alone, among all those there, did not raise his head and look when they came in. He was dark in color, and it appeared to Heather in a bad mood. He brooded in the corner while the others chatted happily, but some frowned when they saw the strangers. "My friends," Lord Rake said, bowing slightly to his guests, "welcome to the savory den." He motioned with his hand, and all the rabbits inside except one made a short bow. Most appeared friendly, but a few stared hard at Uncle Wilfred, concern blooming on their faces. "Thank you," Heather said. Smalls and Uncle Wilfred, both hooded, returned the bows. Emma helped Pickett to a seat, then smiled. "I'll be right back with your soup," she said to them all. She walked away from them and disappeared down another passage. "Thank you," Heather called after her. She sat down beside Pickett. Uncle Wilfred and Smalls sat across from them at the wooden table, their backs to most of the room. That's the end of Part A, Chapter 17.